All right, so again, in lesson 15, we're talking about the slope of a non-vertical line. So we just went through and we found some ratios. We were finding the ratios of how much we went up compared to how much we went right. So let's look at these two lines here. So let's take this first one here. And again, we're going to read graphs from left to right. And what we want to see is this line, as we look from left to right, is going up. Okay, and what we say for like going left to right, we say from left to right, it's inclining. It's on an incline. Think of a treadmill. If you put up the incline, you're going up. So it's inclining. This tells me that this is a positive slope. Okay, we're going to talk what that word slope is, but slope is going to be that ratio. And since we're going up from left to right, my number that represents that is going to be positive. If you look at the next one, we say that this one is left to right, declining. Oh, my goodness. Declining. Okay, if it's on a decline, it's going down. So this is going down from left to right. And that tells me that my slope is going to be negative. If I said, what is the slope of this line? The answer is not negative. It's describing the slope. The number that represents this line is going to be negative. So let's get into that number, okay? We know our number will be positive if we go left to right and it's going up, and it's going to be negative, it's going down from left to right. So let's talk about that number. The slope is a number describing what the line is doing as we go from left to right. Okay, it's a number. It's describing it. And the way we find that slope, for right now, we use this little phrase, rise over run. Rise over run. You're going to hear me say that a lot. You guys are going to learn to say that a lot. And again, we always go from left to right. Oh, goodness, I did it again. Okay, so from left to right. When we're reading this graph, we want to know what is its rise compared to its run. And honestly, this is what we were doing in the first video. We were finding those ratios, how much something went up and how much something went to the right. So if you want to figure out its rise to its run, you pick 2 points on the graph. And again, make sure they go through the grid lines. And we'll talk later why it doesn't matter which numbers you picked. Okay, and so from here, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to go over 1. So my rise is 4. My run, how much we're moving to the right, is 1. So my slope, I accept either of these. This is my slope. The slope of this line is 4, or 4 over 1, because it means for every 4 units we go up, we go over 1. It's a number. It's a positive number because it's going up from left to right. And this number, being able to find this number, is going to be really important later on. Okay, especially when we get into graphing. It's actually going to be a shortcut way of graphing. So here's my line. It's going up from left to right, and since that's how we read graphs, I know that my slope will be positive. And we find that slope by taking the number that represents our rise to our run. So pick 2 numbers on the graph. This one kind of gives us a P and an R right here. Okay, don't worry about this other letter on there. That was for something else. So from here to here, I'm going to rise 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to run 1. So my slope is 3. Okay, that means for every 1 unit that I go over, we're going over 3. Remember when I said earlier that slope was unit rate per 1, 3 per 1. So it says, which of the lines in exercise 1 and 2 is steeper? Compare the slopes of each line. Okay, so in number 1, we had a slope of 4. That's not a hashtag, it means number. So problem 1, slope of 4. In problem number, that's what this number sign means here, 2, it was 3. And we know that 4 is greater than 3. Sorry, I kind of thought that was 1/4 there. Here, 4 is greater than 3. So we can say the graph of number 1 is steeper and has a greater slope. Okay. The graph of number 1 is steeper and has a greater slope. All right. If the steepness is greater, thought it'd be better, but I'm still making mistakes. The slope is greater. Okay. If the steepness of the line is greater, that means the slope is greater. Okay, so again, think back to what we were doing at the beginning when I draw the like stick figures on there, right? If you had a stick figure, you can see the graph. Okay, if you had a stick figure climbing this line right here, or climbing this line, okay, this one is steeper, okay? And so that one means it has a greater slope, okay? So if the steepness is greater, the slope is greater. And that's going to come into play later when we're talking or comparing lines. Again, today we're just focusing on the slope. So let's do just a couple more examples finding the slope. And again, we find slope with rise over run. There's going to be another way to figure it out, or a better way, or no, it's not a better way. There's going to be other ways to find slope, okay? But just the basic easy way is the rise over run. Now, if we look at this graph right here, notice it's going down from left to right. It's left to right declining. So I know that when I go to find my slope, the number that represents how much it's going down for every 1 unit it goes over, it's going to be a negative number. So how do we represent that? Well, first of all, pick 2 points. I'll just pick this one and this one. It's okay if you pick different ones because they're a ratio. They're all going to work out in the end. But notice I'm not going to go up. I'm still going from left to right, but I'm going to go down. 1, 2, 3, 3 down, and 1, 2, 3, 3 to the right. Now, how do you think? What integer do you think represents going down 3? Negative, right? Up is positive, down is negative, but I'm going to the right, so this is a positive 3. Now, if I reduce this, this becomes negative 1 over 1, or just a negative 1. So my slope, the number that represents the slope of this graph, is negative 1. That means it goes down 1 for every 1 it goes over. Okay? Slope is a number. It's going to be negative because the line's going down, but slope is a number. It's a number describing the steepness of a line. All right, a couple more. Okay, again, this is going down from left to right. So I know they had a couple points already on here. So if we use those to go from left to right declining, we go down 1, 2, 3, 4, and I go over 1. So the ratio of my rise to my run, if I'm going down 4, that's negative 4 compared to 1, or just negative 4. Again, it's negative because it's left to right declining, but the slope is a negative 4 because it's a number that describes the steepness of a line. So negative 4 over 1 means it's dropping 4 for every 1 it goes over. Slope is not, once you get it, like it's not hard to figure out, okay? How about this line? How steep is this line? This is my kind of hiking trail, okay? Because let's say I went from P to R right here. If I wanted to find the slope of my rise to my run, how am I going left to right? Okay, it's not really left to right, inclining or declining. How much am I going up or down? 0. How much am I going to the right? 1, 2, 3. And 0 divided by 3, well, that's just 0. Okay, so if I cheat a little bit again. We've talked about horizontal and vertical lines in the past. Remember, this is slope of non-vertical lines. So we can say that horizontal lines have a slope of 0, not 9, 0. And that kind of makes sense because remember, slope tells is a number describing the steepness of a line. Well, how steep is this line? It's not, okay? We're not going up or down at all. It's not steep, so it has a slope of 0. Vertical lines, we'll talk about them later.